In the last year, the campaign year last year of Joe Biden's presidency, they weaponized the FBI against Tom Homan, the border czar, and they tried to set him up.
Right.
And the New York Times, 3 anonymous sources that they go on vacation with inside the deep state, that were remaining anonymous, but saying, oh yeah, Tom Homan took $50,000 in cash that undercover FBI agents gave him in some kind of a lunch bag. And
he shut it down, right? He didn't take the bag of money, right?
Well, that is that's not what the New York Times says, but that is what the White House is saying. Yeah.
Look, I'm still waiting for these reporters that came up with the whole Russian hoax and collaborated with the deep state to apologize, to all those people that they went after in the White House and on the campaign and apologize for President Trump, turn in their Pulitzer Prizes. I mean, it's really, truly outrageous. And I could see why President Trump is so frustrated because this isn't just about defending himself. It is about flipping the script. It's about saying, wait a second here, where is the justice? Where is the accountability for the outreach, for the spying, for the abuses of power that came from the FBI, that came from these members of Congress like Schiff that said, we have, quote unquote, all this evidence. Where was the evidence? There was no evidence, and yet they can get away with it.
Well, Foldy, it's, they go by the old Socialist Worker Party thing, make the lie big enough and no one will dare not believe it.
And we've talked about every single one of these people on our show. And it seems like a lot of them have committed crimes. Now, of course, that's up for the judicial system to say. And whether it's going to be the Department of Justice or local prosecutors, I think it depends on the jurisdiction and what these Democrats are accused of doing. But I actually think it would be political not to prosecute them just because they're the opponents of Trump. Because look, perhaps they did do nothing wrong. It certainly seems like, you look at Tish James, for example, incredibly suspect real estate doings. And then, of course, in almost every one of the case, what these Democrats have accused Trump of doing is actually precisely 99.98% what they themselves have a long and now established track record of doing.
Right, and the news media asking the questions in the White House briefing today, again, just spinning the hell out of it. None of them follow the news. So they don't know about, they know what's in the New York Times today, and that's about it. But they can't tell you what happened over the last 5 years because they're not aware and they're not very bright. Caroline Levitt at the White House today also took a reporter to school on why the President of the United States wants Letitia James to face justice for her wacky actions.
Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, in an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office.
Now, Hillary Fordwich is here. Lovely. Just home from England, as I understand it.
And this is home.
That's right. And I got to say, again, our news media, if we had a legitimate news media, they'd be smothering the zone with all the abuses of power perpetrated by members of the Democrat Party. And again, Letitia James ran on the proposition that she would get Trump. Then she won. Then she went hammer and sickle after Trump relentlessly. And then, the most ridiculous fine in the history of the world, which was overturned. And our news media shrugs and attacks Republicans.
Yes, and I actually would like to use the term, since you refer to the UK, and by the way, lovely to be back with everybody. In the UK, the Prime Minister there is Keir Starmer. People talk about him as two-tier Keir. We have two-tier here. It's not as bad, luckily, in America as it is over there, but a double standard. That's what is absolutely ghastly. It's the double standard here. Because, and also, as we just heard, it's more like a communist state where you find who you want and then you go after them afterwards. You determine what the crime is before. And that's exactly what she did, and then she perpetrated the same thing. And also, we have the same thing, of course, on the Federal Reserve Board. Same thing, where people are claiming different residences. They're avoiding the mortgage payments. They're avoiding the taxes. That is actually wrong. And you're right, the media is totally and utterly avoiding it. Double standard.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.